Okay, so this is 2473 Olympic Drive in Oak Harbor. We are on the top of a fairly steep slope here. So driveway is a little bit steep. We don't get a ton of ice and snow, so not a huge concern as far as that goes, but definitely something to note. This is a really nice, quiet neighborhood. It sits in between Swantown, which my house is off of, and Hillcrest Elementary. This house does tend to be shaded. I know you're saying, the natural sunlight's really important to you. So you will get a bunch. It's just really going to depend on the time of day. As you can see here, it's a little bit later in the evening and everything is in shadow. So nice for keeping the house nice and cool with all these big old trees. But it does cut down on the amount of light that actually hits the home. First impressions, it's a composite siding. The siding itself looks like it's in decent shape. You have a few pop nails, but mainly it just appears that it really needs a paint job. They redid the roof, I believe, when these sellers purchased, which would have been less than 5 years ago. I believe it was 2023, actually. I'll double check that. But either way, the roof is pretty darn new. You can tell just by looking at it. I've looked front and back. The granulation is great. They used an architectural shingle. It's in really good condition. Just like the rest of the house. This needs to be restained. You can see the fading on the paint, especially on the trim. There's some warping here on the trim. You can see it's kind of bowed a little bit. That's just going to be due to age and moisture intrusion because they didn't keep up on the paint job. But I don't feel any soft spots. So again, you will have beautiful sunrises here. It's kind of hard to see in the picture. More true to life would be, this is what I see. So you can see straight across to some of the Cascade Mountains. On the east there. So the home faces east, the back sits to the west. Front door, you have French doors, really nice for moving in furniture. So upon entry, over here to the left is the living room with those arches. And then over here to the right, we have the entry to the second living room / dining room, down the hall to the bedrooms, bathrooms, coat closet. No popcorn ceiling, which is fantastic. They just have a nice, I wouldn't call it an orange peel, but they just have a texture on the walls. So the flooring is new. Like we talked about, however, I will note that it is the very cheap vinyl flooring. So this stuff will shrink and grow depending on the temperature, and it's also very susceptible to water damage, so you don't want to like wet mop it. If anything gets spilled on it, you want to wipe it up right away. Typical 70s house, sunken living room. They do have nice can lighting throughout though. So this is the wall that you were talking about, whether or not it's load bearing. So yes and no, there are definitely some load bearing aspects to it. You would not be able to remove this entire wall completely. Over here at this corner, you would need to have some kind of a beam coming down. You could still open it up, absolutely. My husband likes to say any wall can be taken out. It just depends on how much you want to pay. But you would need some kind of a support in that area. And then you could take out this entire section and just run a beam across. You couldn't just knock it down and leave it because that is like the ridge point on the house. So it is load bearing. You just don't need the entire thing. So I hope that makes sense. It's been a long day. My brain doesn't want to verbalize things anymore. So this is the dining room. Off here on the left is the garage. Like most houses this age, unfortunately the washer and dryer is in the garage. You have 3 steps leading down out into the garage. Typical also of most houses this age here on Island, the garage was not fully finished, so you need in some drywall flung up and some paint. There is a back door that goes out to the backyard from the garage. The water heater is older. It is very oversized for the size of the house, so that's pretty nice, but it is older, that's for sure. Although a lot of times the older things seem to last longer. Not nearly as energy efficient, but definitely seem to last longer than the newer ones. So again, dining room into the kitchen. It was more recently remodeled. Looking for, oh, there we go. So always find the light switch. All right. So you have a nice big farmhouse sink looking out into the backyard. They did a tile backsplash. The cabinets are decent. They are soft closed. Let's see about the drawers. Yep, soft closed drawers. That's pretty nice. There's some missing trim there. Nice new refrigerator. Newer stove. I don't know how you feel about flat top stoves. Oh, and new dishwasher. And you have the second living room. Wood stove, which is fantastic. Based on the size of the house and just experience with wood stoves in general, I would say this probably heats the whole house in the winter quite nicely. It's nice from the power goes out too. You have a secondary heat source. So that is a working wood stove. I like the beams in here. One thing I will note, you'll notice as we walk around the house, other than the wood stove, there are no other heat sources aside from baseboard heating, which I really have a bone to pick with. There's some more missing trim here on the side. Just little things aside from the baseboard heating, the older water heater so far. This door comes out into the backyard. You have a terraced backyard. They flattened this section out, which is quite nice. Looks like they were using it as a basketball court. Apologies for the sun. It's kind of just at that perfect angle. There are stairs up onto the upper section. It does appear the fence is in need of some attention. It's unfortunately also pretty typical for the island with all the wind that we have. It is nice because that tree is the closest tree on your property to the house in the back. These trees are on your neighbor's property, so if anything were to happen with them, that would be their responsibility. But they all look really healthy, in good condition. The yard is almost entirely fenced, albeit again not in the best shape, but almost entirely fenced except for this section right here. Looks like they had a big gate on there at one point that's now missing. You have this nice little outbuilding, storage shed. It is nice and dry in here. Good amount of space. You can see here at the back there is some damage to the siding. This is all pretty rotten. The siding itself is in really good condition, but again, just having the paint be neglected for so long here in the Pacific Northwest, things go quickly. It's not very forgiving. So little trim work needs to be addressed, that's for sure. There's a little bit of rotting on the eaves. The fascia looks like it's in good condition aside from just needing to be restained. Just a little bit of rot. Again, the roof looks great. The windows all appear to have been replaced at the same time. So again, vinyl double pane windows, but they are quite a bit older. So here I have a question about, because it appears, okay, so your crawl space is, I don't know if you can see, sealed off. This just is an overhang that is missing some siding and trim boards, but it does not go into the hole itself doesn't actually go into the crawl space or the foundation. Door, looks like that door hasn't been in use for a long time. Let's see the other side of the fence, there's a little gate. And again, in need of attention. The gutters are a little bit rough. They need to be terminated correctly, but it does look like they're going into a drain. And it does appear that there is a French drain that runs along the side of this home. I'm still waiting to hear back from Carrie to validate that. And you can see the gutters are terminated into the drainage. Open the crawl space, very difficult to see in, it's pretty tight. I won't subject you to that, it's all cobwebs, but I was able to see that the ground that you can see at least is exceptionally dry, and there is a vapor barrier that appears to be laid out correctly from what I can see. The whole backyard itself here is really dry. Granted, yesterday was pretty hot and warm, but we have had some heavy rains recently, and the lots that hold on to moisture would still be pretty squishy. I walked all over up top and down below, and nothing was wet at all. I didn't find any soft spots, so that's a good sign. Right, coming down the hall to the bedrooms and the bathroom. Coat closet. First guest bedroom. That's just a single bed. You can see the old baseboards. This one has a view out to the street. Pretty little closet in here. Next bedroom is slightly bigger. Has this bump out area. Again, the older baseboards, same view out to the street. Little closet. Here's the bathroom. You have that rounded ceiling again. One thing I do also dislike is the fan and the lights are on the same switch, and the fans are extremely loud. Not a giant issue, just a little unpleasant. Older vanity, medicine cabinet, older insert, but you do have a shower and a tub. There is a section cut out here that they have not replaced, and you can see they have the old copper pipes, and pretty typical for the age of the house. Copper pipes are not fun to deal with when they break, but not as bad as having galvanized. Big linen closet. Oops, sorry. Make you dizzy here. And then the master bedroom also has French doors. It is also sunken. So you can see a little bit of what I was talking about on the trim here. I don't know how well it's going to come out in the video. There is some bubbling. It looks like some moisture got in there. I'm not seeing really any damage in the rest of the floor. There's an example of what I'm talking about with the quality of the flooring. So the master has 2 closets, one on each side of this wall. Again, the baseboards. View out to the backyard. And this is another thing I'm not a huge fan of. I have the same issue in my house. Granted, it's not right off the bed, but the ensuite has no door. And again, the light and the fan are connected, so it's fairly loud. There is a walk-in shower. Pretty straightforward. So some quirks. Overall, it's got good bones. The siding is my biggest concern. I would say the siding and the baseboard heat would be my number one concerns with this house. The lot is nice. The location is nice. The layout is pretty decent. You do have the older copper plumbing. But those are the big ticket items. I missed something in there. All right, that is 2473 Olympic Drive in Oak Harbor.